good morning everyone and welcome to Achaibo weekly webinar. I am Bea, assistant to Tengu, and I will be working with you in the background to assist you with all things related to the Achaibo online training program. So before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items so you know what we're going to do in today's events. On your screens, you'll see participant interface where you can see the microphone and the video icons, the participant list, chat, reactions, or emoticons. Please click on the participant list so that you'll be able to raise your hand when you have questions or experiencing technical issues. We have everybody else automatically muted so that we don't hear background noises as others join in. You will have the opportunity to submit text question to us by typing your questions in the Q&A box. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. You could also raise your hand by pressing the hand button and we'll have you unmuted before you speak up for your questions. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Tengu Muna, the founder and the CEO of the Achaibo Clinical and the creator of our online course, The Ultimate Clinical Research Toolbox. We can't hear you.
Oh, I was muted. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, good. I was muted and I was looking at my Apple Pro Pods. I'm like, what is going on this morning? Hello again. Welcome, welcome. Happy Wednesday. My goodness. So glad to be here. Glad you're all here. I see there are more participants joining. I typically pause halfway through the presentation and say hello to everyone because people tend to join in more and more within the first 10 minutes. So that was B. B is one of our support staff here, helps out a lot on the webinars and so much more. And we also have Lee, who's here, who is our support staff, social media queen as well. Okay, so we talked about housekeeping. Everyone's muted, so that way we can have a seamless presentation. And I have introduced the team, and then I'm going to go into talking about me in terms of the clinical research industry and why I am so passionate about this industry, everyone. And I hope that at the end of this presentation, you will take away something that will inspire you in your own life and also expand your knowledge about what goes on in the clinical research world. Then I'm going to just give you a brief description of what clinical trials are about. Then I'm going to talk about our services, what Achaibo Clinical is about, and why we're very passionate about modernizing and innovating our African-run clinical trials, African professionals, supporting them, and those on the continent and in the diaspora. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about myself. I have been in the clinical research industry for about 18 plus years. I think it's closer to 20. And so it has been quite an experience just really working in clinical operations, creating my own company and going to the global level and being a global trials manager. And for those of you who are not too familiar with the industry, operations, global trials management, or country trials management, we are the ones who create everything that has to do with how to test an article. So we get the molecule from the scientist, and then we create an operations project management plan, right? On how we can take that product and test it. And then we come up with everything that is required to test it, all the facilities, all the vendors, and then take it all the way through, right, through the clinical trial and then submit it to the regulatory authorities. So I'm very honored that I have been in the operations part where I get to understand every aspect of the clinical trial. And then here we are. So I worked as a global trials manager with my own company, thought leader in clinical trials, and really focusing on emerging markets, particularly South America and APAC. And now we're now doing a lot more in Africa. Okay, so I've worked for small and large sponsors, and sponsors are the ones who are ultimately responsible for the financial aspect of the trial. It's their product, right? So you know them, the Pfizers, the Sanofi, the Genentech, this, and then of course all the smaller companies in between. They own the product, right? And so there are different types of players in the clinical research field. We have those sponsors, and then we have vendors as well, right? We have research institutions as well. So it's really a melange of so many different things. But the goal is that we want to take a product, test it, and then make sure that it gets to the market, right? I've also worked across various therapeutic areas, for at least 30 of them. You know, I've worked on devices, worked on drugs, worked on biologics. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed, besides taking a product from the lab and then testing it and then hopefully submitting it and getting it approved, it's really the coaching and mentoring of study teams. So the way global operations is set is that I am there operating across sometimes even 43 countries, right? Because we can run a trial in so many different places. But then my primary goal whenever we have meetings, and I have to chair meetings across the globe and with different parties, right, is to encourage people and ensure that, you know, we're all on the same page. And of course, there's a lot of coaching, mentoring, there's a lot of training that is actually involved, right? And then I also organize a lot of audits in clinical trials. We need those, right? Because, you know, the whole point, I think, in really managing trials is risk mitigation. I'm sure some of you know about it, some of you do not. It's basically looking at the possibility of something happening in future. So the way that we set up clinical trials is that we look at so many different aspects, you know, of the trial, you know, in terms of safety, in terms of the data. And so we keep figuring out, oh, what if the product doesn't get to a particular country? That's just an example at a specific time. What are the things that we can put in place to mitigate that risk? So clinical trials are all about safety and risk management. And then I also have a lot of experience in online and offline marketing, because I have to tell you, it is always amazing how in clinical trials, we have to market the product. Yes, it is a test article, but we have to convince all these different countries and regulatory authorities and then the principal investigators and their facilities to participate in our clinical trial and why it is important. So out of that, we have logos, we create tools, we create all kinds of trainings and all kinds of pamphlets and materials that they can actually use. So now with all of this, I created Achaibo Clinical because I wanted to have a company that can standardize and innovate the clinical trial space in Africa and the diaspora. So that's just a little bit about me. I will get into more of it. I'm basically just passionate about having more clinical research professionals in the industry, along with my silent partners. That's what we focus on every day. We train you, and I will show you all the different programs that we have as well. Now, I'm going to stop here for a second because it's right about now that we have more and more people joining. So I just want to welcome everyone. Elizabeth, welcome. Mercy's here. Hi, Molly. Eben. Yeah. I'm glad you guys are all here. Just wave, say hello. Just happy that you're all here today, listening in. Yay! Welcome, 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 rock stars. Always happy to have you guys. Okay, so let's move on, and I'll share some more things. So I want to talk about this industry and why it is unique and what makes it so unique, right? So let's first start off by talking about what are clinical trials. It's really simple. They're research investigations in which people volunteer for testing a new treatment, intervention, or it could be a test as a means to prevent, detect, treat, or manage various diseases. So clinical trials always fall within the category of, are you preventing? Is it a product that's going to prevent something? Is it a diagnostic that is going to detect something? Is it to treat a certain disease, or is it to manage? You know, we know that like a lot of oncology trials are more about management, right? And so that's what clinical trials are about. And of course, there are investigations that also see how people will respond to certain interventions and what side effects might occur. Now, when a drug is approved, that little label that you get with all the possible contraindications in clinical trial, those are adverse events and serious adverse events. So we're constantly wanting to see that while somebody is on this treatment, what kind of effects are actually occurring as a result of them taking the product or using a particular device. Okay, what's exciting about clinical trials are this. It's decentralized, right? What that means is that with the way that the world is going, we run trials now all over the world. Even in one country, it's across various facilities, it's all over the world. And it's just simply because we need variety in clinical trials. We need different genotypes and phenotypes. But the main thing that drives it right now is really the cost part of it. Pharmaceutical companies are just realizing that the cost of running a trial, say in this Western part of the world, might be more expensive than running it in Africa or running it in South America. So that's another big reason for decentralization. And then, of course, with pandemics and epidemics and all of that, you don't want the burden to be on one country, right? I mean, if you're running a clinical trial and it's a product that is going to go global, you don't want to just have like one country running it. And then what if that country gets hit by a hurricane or something crazy happens? Then your trial is on hold. So the bigger pharmaceutical companies they run trials across the globe, right? It's also a form of risk mitigation. So trials are globalized. It also ties up to decentralization. We run them all over the world. We want different people involved. And I will get into that for various reasons. And of course, the good part about clinical trials is that the skills are transferable. Whatever coaching and training that you see in clinical trials, you can use that in any country. And specifically, the way that we train you at Achaibo Clinical is to give you a global platform. So you're not just stuck in one place. Should you decide to move to another place, you can just go there and keep going because you have a skill set that is rare and it's transferable and can be used anywhere in the world. Okay, so this map of clinical trials is one of the things that really got me a bit incensed. I have had this for quite a while, and my goal is that our continent and can become like this, the red or like the yellows, right? Because what is this? This is we conduct the least amount of clinical trials, as you can see here. Okay, we're like green. I mean, there are different types of green, and you can see, right? We are like the greenest of the green. So what that means is that we are just beginning in this space, and we can do so much more. Now, think about this. We have the largest phenotype and genotype, right? Over 3 million variants. Per the last research, I think that was done by National Geographic. Over 3 million variants, and I'm sure that there was more. I mean, that's the variety of people. And so let's just say that you're taking a specific product that has not been tested on any one of the continent. And that product, let's say you're taking Panadol. I always talk about Panadol because a lot of people know it. Or you're taking it and yeah, it might work, but guess what? If it was actually tested on you, I think the formulation will be so much better in terms of the fact that it actually targets you. The other great thing about having such a large variety of phenotype and genotypes is that on our continent, we can test as many products as possible because that variety translates to the rest of the world, right? So we have such a great population. I mean, we're the cradle of civilization. So obviously, everybody came from Africa, right? They came from there. So we have this variety that is found all over the world. The other thing is that we only conduct 2% or less of the clinical trials, and these are mostly in South Africa. So, I mean, just think about the room. I mean, we have the most intelligent healthcare professionals so far as I'm concerned. And I have traveled around the globe, been chaired various meetings across this planet. And I have to say that the level of qualifications, our work ethic, it's just incredible. And the intelligence, I'm always just blown away. And I think to myself, that's the reason why we cannot be lagging behind in this industry. We need to train, we need to move, we need to get into the industry. If we're already in the industry, we have to move up and look for different ways that we can excel, right? Massive success. Okay, now, so what do we do here? What we're doing is that we have targeted clinical research programs that provide you with tools and resources to help you achieve success in clinical trials management at every level. If you want to go into get a job, get a career, in clinical trials, that's one avenue. If you are a medical doctor here and or you're a hospitalist or clinician or you work at one and you actually want to run clinical trials, you want to have facilities that run clinical trials, we help you. If you're again new to the industry, never been in clinical trials, and you're not even a healthcare professional, maybe you just, you're of a different industry, well educated, we also have the basic foundational course that will help introduce you into the industry and help you, get your foot in the door. And so our goal really is to expand the number of clinical research facilities, and we want to educate and coach existing and new clinical research professionals. Of course, we want to help create new avenues of income. It's a very robust and abundant industry. And I say, to me, this industry has been to me the gift that keeps on giving. Because why? I have never left it. I have opened my own business, started working corporate, went into consulting, now have my own business where I do so many different things. And it is just, there's so many ways that you can actually transform your life, okay? And of course, we want to expand patient access to healthcare on our continent. Patients who participate in clinical trials, my goodness, there's so many benefits, right? They have compensation. They are getting procedures that otherwise they probably would not even get, another extremely expensive. And the other good part is that the trials that are global are typically trials where they're more of the phase threes, and I'll explain. So phase one trials are usually, they call them FIH, first in human trials, or phase zero. They're a bit of phase zeros now. It just means that, it's a subset of patients, and they're doing a lot of PK/PD. They're doing blood samples, and they're trying to look at how the product is absorbed, digested, and metabolized and excreted, right? Because that's really important. And then they're looking at safety, how it's affecting the patients. And typically they get to spend a night at the facility. By the time we get into phase two, we're looking at always safety. Clinical trials, always safety is involved. We're trying to look at efficacy, right? Oh, we've noticed that it's safe, right? Nothing happened. No, there was no toxicity that happened when they took it. So is it efficacious, and at what dose? So now you start having the randomized type of trials, different types of cohorts, different groups, comparing that product to a placebo, to a comparator, similar product on the market. Then by the time that you get to phase three, I mean, it's close to being approved, right? I mean, by the time that you're at that stage, obviously you've noticed that the drug is safe and it works. Now, at what dose does it work? So the good news is that globally, distributed trials, the decentralized ones, are typically those phase threes or post-marketing or phase four. That just means that the product has been approved and we're looking at different ways that we can actually use it in the market, right? And so phase four trials, post-marketing trials, massive amount of data, massive amount of countries. Same thing with phase three. So the good news is that by the time that this actually starts happening on our continent, these products are already determined to be safe, okay? And I cannot tell you how many testimonials we have when we run global trials of patients who had a certain condition and they used the test article and it actually worked and really transformed their lives. So there's so many benefits that can come from clinical trials. So before proceeding, I see a few more people have joined. Hello, welcome. Welcome, everyone. I'm glad that you guys are following. At the end, we're going to respond to all your questions. I see that Elizabeth is here and I'm raising her hand. So's Mercy. So at the end, we are going to respond to all your questions and make sure that you leave with a smile of success, right? So let's keep going. So let me talk a little bit about our ultimate clinical research training programs. So we provide hands-on training on how to conduct managed trials or career advancement. And our programs and services are tailored to meet your needs. And now I will go into that. So the goal here is that anyone who takes our programs or any of our coaching, you actually have that hands-on knowledge. We take you from where you are to actually where you want to be. So it's not one of those things where you come in, you get a certificate, which you will, and then that's pretty much it. Our goal is that we take you to the end result that you want, whether it's getting a job in the industry, whether it's setting up a clinical research center, whether you're already in the industry and you want to get into a new role, we help you all the way to the end. So The first program we have is the Ultimate Clinical Research Toolbox, right? And I changed the slides a little bit for those of you who have attended before, because we've had a lot of questions and I really want to clarify what these programs are and what they do exactly, so you can really understand what we are doing here. It's a foundational practical course. So it is basically what happens at a clinical research site. And then you do, of course, you get to understand what good clinical practice are that govern the industry. This particular course, we use it in several ways. Firstly, anyone who is a hospitalist, clinician, you work at a hospital, or you're an entrepreneur who wants to set up and run clinical trials, that is a course that will show you the step-by-step process on how to do that, what you need to do. Okay. And the benefit is that we have a global network, which I'm going to talk about coming up, where once you are taking this course and you are setting up the facility and however you choose to do this, then we now add it to our global database. And we do collect certain documents from you. Our clients know, oh, this person knows what clinical trials are about. They know how to set it up. You take all those courses, you're going to get a lot of courses, and you're going to now then also meet with us, right? You're going to meet with us weekly as well while you're taking those courses, so we can better help you. So that's the first thing. The second one is for someone who wants a clinical research career. And by that, I mean that you are new to the industry and you want to understand what the industry is about. And then you want to actually rebrand yourself. You want to say, oh, you know what? I want to get into the industry. I want to work at a clinical research facility, which is fantastic. That happens. Or you want to go work for a pharma company or any of the other organizations that are in this industry, right? Then we show you how to do that. You take the course, you understand it, you complete GCP training and all of that good stuff. You understand. And then now we show you how do you go about looking for a job in the industry, right? Because we want to make sure you get to the end result. Right. And then we show you all of that. Okay. So that's the first piece. The second one is the Ultimate Clinical Research Monitoring Training Program. And that is launched on the 14th. It's taking a while. I'm so excited about it. We're launching it on the 14th. Really excited. Actually relaunching it because it was there before, but we just made a few changes to it and made it the ultimate, right? So a clinical research monitor is basically an individual who is a third party. They're independent. And they go out to the monitoring site and to the clinical research sites and they monitor. I mean, by that they look at the data. They look at, are you basically conducting this clinical trial according to the protocol, the document that is created that specifies what happens during a clinical trial? Are you conducting it according to the regulatory laws? That's what a monitor does. And they would visit the facility periodically. It's the most high in demand role, simply because just think about the number of clinical trials in the world, right? I mean, now I do more global trials, and in each country, the clinical research associates, there's always a shortage of them because you cannot ever have everybody that you need to monitor a trial. So it's a highly, highly, highly needed role. And you can never have enough CRAs or monitors or site managers, right? So that's something that is needed. It's a one kind of a training which takes you through monitoring procedures. By this, I mean that it's not one of those things where you're just going to go and you can go Google. You just see you'll see them, the CRA training courses. They give you all those. I think they're 6 or how many modules. This is actually what you do on a day-to-day basis. What happens at a clinical research facility? How do you manage yourself? What is really your role, right? How do you manage your travel? How do you communicate with the facility? All of it very detailed, very robust. And it's like a Bible. The way that we've created it, it's a Bible that is always going to help you in the clinical research world, right? And we also show you how do you apply, right? How do you apply for jobs? What companies do you apply to? How do you rebrand yourself? And what's your vision? So there's a lot that is involved in that. Now, who is this course for? It would not be for let me first say who this course is not for. If you're a healthcare professional, it's fine. But if you are, say, someone who's like the creative arts field or that type of thing, I would suggest you take the other course, the foundational course, because that really gives you. But if you are a pharmacist, you're a nurse, right? That's the first group. Pharmacist, nurse, you already understand, clinical stuff. You understand your hospitalist or your clinician. You could even be a medical doctor. It doesn't really matter, right? And this role is really for someone who understands, that whole the clinical side of things and has been managing patients, or or you're an administrator of some form, or you're a healthcare professional. It's an amazing course because you will be you will understand it easily because you're already in the healthcare space. Okay, so like I said, pharmacist, nurse, medical doctor. I mean, if you don't want to set up and run clinical trials, and this is something that you actually want to take a look at, that would be ideal for you. Or you just graduated from medical school, or just graduated from pharmacy school and things like that. So those are the types of roles that are best to be a CRA or monitor, right? But then again, I mean, everything is possible. So it's really a matter of, you really understand the industry, you know what it's about, you're not in it, but you know it, then you can take this course. The other group are clinical research professionals who are in different roles. They could be working at a clinical research site, right? And you want to be a CRA, you want to be a monitor. You could be a data manager in the industry and you want to be a CRA. Now, this role is very key. And I actually came into the industry and moved up into this role because it is at the center of clinical research, but more, I would say, at the facility level, because you have got to know everything that's happening in regards to a clinical trial, because that's what you're going to be doing. You're responsible for monitoring the data. You have to train the sites. You have to make sure that the clinical trial is being run properly, like I mentioned before, in the facility that you're working at. And it's fantastic because you get a 360-degree view of all clinical trials. It is this role that allowed for me to move up quickly as a global projects manager, because I was already in operations. I was already performing and seeing what was happening. So it was very easy for me to just go to the country level as a project manager and then go global because I was familiar, right? Versus I came in working at a clinical research site and assisting them in doing so many things. And then I went into data management. Now, those roles give you more of the clinical research side gives you a lot. You see everything because you're the facility, you deal with everybody. I was a payments person there, helping them manage finances. But then, and this is like at least 18 years ago. And then when I moved into data management, I only got a bird's eye view, because in data management, you're responsible for ensuring that the data that is being collected is clean, there are no errors, and that's what eventually gets packaged up and and looked at and eventually goes to the regulatory authorities, right? So that was a bird's eye view. When I got into the CRA role, I was like, wow, I mean, I get this industry now because I know everything that's happening, right? So this is a very good role again. Healthcare professional or someone who's a clinical research professional already in the industry, and you actually want to move up. Now, let me talk about the Achaibo Blue Cloud Network. Okay, so what we do is everyone who is joining us to own a clinical research site or to set up a clinical research department at a hospital or clinic, or if you have a clinic, you want to run a clinical research, you want to run clinical research, or you want to work at a clinical research site. So you get added to our network. What is this network? It is a global network that is standardized and modernized to allow for any clinical researcher from a clinical research site to have access to international sponsors, have access to clinical trials project, have access to ongoing training that has been standardized and modernized, okay? So that's what you get access to. So it's not just that you come in, we train you to run and set up clinical research studies. After that, you get added to this network. So that way you can actually get those projects, right? Okay. And then you get access to a global network. So it really offers a research facility and staff a robust QA and QC process with FDA and sponsor approval. And what that just means is that this database is regulated by the FDA, and the use of it and everything that's in there is regulated. And it also is regulated by the sponsor. So typically when sites get added to this network, there's certain things that you have to do. You have to take certain additional modules. I mean, then eventually we have to collect CVs, licenses. So there's quite a bit that is involved, and that is required by our clients and our sponsors. And of course, I said you get access to standardized documents and you get access to sponsors around the world. So The other group that gets registered are for free. This time, this one is for free. This is just clinical research. If you own a clinical research site and you're on this call, and you mean you just get ad hoc trials, right? I highly recommend that you join our database. If you're already been trained, you're in the industry, and you're fine, right? You don't need any training, or your staff doesn't need any training. Then what we recommend is that you join this global network. You register yourself in there as a principal investigator or owner of a clinical research site, and then that way you can get visibility, we can qualify you, and that way you can get access to more clinical trials. So those are three things. Again, first one, we offer a foundational course that allows for you to get into the industry, and also the same course allows you to set up and run a clinical research site, or get your foot in the door to get a career. The second course is the clinical research associate course, which is targeted at nurses, medical doctors, healthcare professionals that typically, already aware of the clinical side of things, or someone who's in the clinical research industry and actually wants to be a monitor, CRA. And then I've talked about our Blue Cloud network, which gives you access to clinical trials globally. Okay, so let me pause here. Are you guys still there? Are you following? I have one more thing to say, and then we're going to get into the Q&A. Okay. Okay, good. I think you guys are still following. Fantastic. So let's talk about, before I get into this, let's talk about what the benefits are. I always say you want to start everything at the beginning of the curve. This is an industry that is blowing up right now on our continent. I mean, when I say blowing up, like it's a very controlled explosion. It's not like just poof, it's like slowly, like, I mean, it's like, because why? Just because people are not so aware of it. Many of the companies that are on our continent, they're many times, and I do have a lot of meetings and relationships with them. Their goal really is to run clinical trials. They don't really think about how can we add more clinical research professionals, more clinical research sites, right? It's a very different method of looking at things. My goal is simple, along with our partners who help also the global database, and we're constantly looking at new strategies and ways that we can support people. It's really simple. We need more of you. We need more clinical research professionals. We need the ones in our industry to have the tools and resources to move up to whatever level that they want to move up. We need more clinical research sites. We need more medical doctors involved in clinical trials, right? More healthcare professionals involved. So that's really what we do. So the benefits for our program is that it's a lifetime membership, right? So it's not one of those things where you just go online, take the course, and then we are like, see you, it was nice, thank you. You've spent 8 weeks with us and it's fantastic. So all our courses are lifetime membership. What that means is that when you take the course, there's the online module, which has a specific duration, right? And when I say online module, I mean that, say you're taking our CRA training course, it's 8 weeks, right? And what that means is that at the end of the 8 weeks, you should be getting a job. Like you should be applying, you should have received all that knowledge. But then while that is going on, we have weekly coaching calls with you. Every week you have coaching calls where you come ask questions, where we help you, we shape you, but that is for life. So the aim is that while you're with us, you can actually excel in your career. It's not a one-time thing. It's not something where you just, come, take some course, look at some modules online, and then it's goodbye. We make sure that you stay with us for as long as you want, and you have access to the platform, all the changes that are happening in the platform. We're constantly innovating and adding new things. You have access to that. Okay. So, and then I talked about the weekly coaching calls. And then, of course, exponential income potential. You are getting a skill set that is needed everywhere in the world. All the countries I deal with, it's the same thing, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if they're speaking Japanese, whatever, it doesn't matter if they're speaking Spanish or, they're speaking Bulgarian. Like, seriously, all across the world is the same process. The only difference when we work globally is just that the regulatory authorities have different requirements, right? I mean, in terms of submitting things, or when we ship drug, we have depots all over the world. And in terms of how we get them to a country, there might be different changes, but the operations part, running the clinical trial. The protocol is the exact same protocol that is created for every single site. Okay. The exact same protocol. Everybody's running it the same way. The protocol might be, in Mandarin in one country, or it could be in Yoruba in another country. Well, it doesn't really matter, right? Or it could be in French in one country or Wolof in another. Like, it is the same protocol, is being run the same way. Now, the operational part of it varies per country because, like I said, every country has its own regulatory requirements, okay? So that's what is so awesome. So the skill set that you have, you can use it anywhere in the world, anywhere. Any country is the exact same thing. So that is what is so awesome. And then it gives you access to the globe, right? Nobody wants to be stuck in one place. You want to have a skill set that you can use anywhere, any place, anytime. And this industry, the average stay in one company for clinical research professionals, you guys are going to be like, what? Yeah, I would say it's 2 years now, just because it's a high in demand profession. Once you come in and you understand what is being done, you just move around and you move up pretty quickly because it's that skill set, like I said, is rare. Okay, so I talked about access to sponsors around the world. We have that, but then my big thing is that us as Africans on the continent and in the diaspora, we need equal access to the clinical trials because we have got to compete globally. Okay, I mentioned it earlier, but we just have to, and that is really my passion. My passion is that every single person who attends our training or comes on this call, it doesn't matter what you choose to do, that you understand that you're not stuck where you are and that you can have access to information and training that will cause you to shift your life, see your life in a completely different way. And so let me go into this. And that segues me into this quote, which it's from, actually, it was a commercial for a movie a long time ago. It's at least 10 years right now. Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. It's a sci-fi science fiction movie. And I love this quote. It's on my LinkedIn. It's all over. Why? Because it says, a universe without boundaries needs heroes without limits. But here's the thing. The boundaries that this is talking about is not the boundaries that are out there. The only boundaries that we have is the boundaries that are in our mind. Those are the real boundaries. Because out here in the world, everything has already manifested, right? I mean, whatever is in your life right now is the sum total of everything that you've lived, every experience that you've had. That's really how it is. So if we're living in a universe without boundaries and if your mind has no boundaries, right, then you have to live without limits, okay? And what that means is that you're not going to defy gravity, right? It's not like you're going to go on top of a building and say, oh my goodness, I'm living without limits, and you jump. Of course, you're going to die or hurt yourself because there are certain laws that are in place, right? The law of gravity, we all know that. By without limits, what I mean is this, not the physical limits, the laws of gravity. It is, if I truly believe that I am created to bring forth gifts, talents, capacities, things that are not tangible. You can touch your body, you can touch a table, but the gifts and talents that you have, you can touch them, right? You can come into my brain and actually pull out all this clinical research information that I've amassed for the past 20 years. So I can come into, a medical doctor's brain or a pharmacist's brain and, figure out what knowledge they have. You can do that. Those are intangible things. And those are things that do not have limits. But many times in life, we have been conditioned to think that, we're limited, right? I'm working within the confines of this limited space, limited environment, limited country, when the true limits are the limits in your mind. And when you actually realize that there is no limit, it's all an illusion, that your mind, you can sit and close your eyes and you can dream about flying a plane, right? You can dream about, being in outer space, being on Mars. I mean, really, you can actually see yourself running around with the Mars rover, right? Running, and you really could, right? I mean, we have videos on YouTube now, so you can actually imagine it in your mind that there you are on Mars running around, or running around on the moon, or, scaling Mount Kilimanjaro, like, right? So it's your mind that is the boundary. And so if you realize that your mind has no boundary, it is not even, and your mind is not even in a specific place. Your brain is, right? But your mind where is your mind? If somebody says, where's your mind? Can you actually tell them your mind is everywhere, right? It is something that you cannot touch, feel, see. It is experiential. And that is what actually will rule your life. And so you actually you got to see yourself like someone who's a hero who doesn't have limits. The word hero is tricky because when the world we live in, we think a hero is, oh my goodness, that person, they saved, 1,000 people. That's a hero. No, a hero is every single person on this planet who gets up every single day and says that today I choose to live in a different way. I choose to see my life in a better way. I choose to live in a limitless way. I am not going to allow the conditions of my life. By that, I mean my current conditions that I see, touch, feel, see every day. I am not going to allow that to stop me from being that person that I've imagined myself to be, right? That's a hero. Okay. So just take this with you that in a universe without boundaries, you got to be a hero without limits. And it is making that decision on a day-to-day basis that no matter what happens, no matter what I'm doing, no matter where I'm going, I make the decision today to go for my dreams. I make the decision today to go do that thing that I thought that I could not do. And then you will see what will happen. All the resources will come. And this is not frou-frou stuff. It's stuff that I actually practice. It's stuff that has taken me to where I am and continues to help me to grow and to expand, right? And it's not an easy journey. Again, our programs are not easy programs. Our programs are with people who are thirsty, who want more in their lives. So those are the people that we love to work with. Someone who actually is passionate and dedicated to clinical research and really wants more. And they're here where they're all being coached and trained. That passion that is within you, that you're like, you know what, I cannot help myself. I love this industry. I'm in it. I want to move up, or I want to get into this industry. So this is what it's for. It's for people who do not have limits and who are willing to do the work and who listen to what we say and practice it. And by doing that, right, being limitless, without boundaries, being a hero by showing up every day for the coaching calls, for everything that you have to do, and then watch your life transform. Okay, so I will end here and we're going to go into the Q&A. I know you're all excited to ask questions and I cannot wait to start responding to them. So let me see here. Blah, blah. Okay, perfect. So let me have this sleep. It keeps typing things that I don't want it to type. Okay, great. Questions, anyone? Mercy, you have a question? Let's unmute. I think Mercy has something to say.
Actually, no question for now.
Okay.
Yes.
How are you doing, Mercy?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. So I think that Nakelu, hi Nakelu. Nakelu has a question.
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, so I want to know how can somebody who, a young clinical research organization, sorry for the background noise,
That's
a young
okay.
clinical research organization focused on implementing clinical research can gain, you already mentioned about gaining visibility, but what other steps can one take to gain traction and visibility in the industry?
Sure. So you're a CRO, you own a CRO.
Something like that, yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so I didn't mention this, but there is something else that we actually do here. So do you have clients yet? Have you defined your market? I mean, have you defined who you're targeting, why you're targeting them? I mean, where are you in terms of the stage of the CRO?
Well, at this point, nothing has been set up. But I've been involved in clinical research, so yeah, networks a couple. So that's about where it is.
No worries. I'm not chastising you. I just wanted to get an idea. And so what is your goal with it? Are you wanting to have like a niche type of CRO that maybe only does data management and maybe safety? I mean, are you wanting to do a full service CRO or just specifically targeted services?
Full service.
Okay, you want to do a full service CRO. Okay, and
Yes.
then where are you located, by the way?
Well, because of for some reasons, I may not be able to give all that information. Perhaps in
No.
in
Oh,
the
no,
one-on-one.
you. Oh, no, absolutely. In the one-on-one, we'll talk more. I'm just because a lot of the questions that you ask, Nakilo, it helps other people. And I keep everything confidential. But I was just wondering what country that you're in because I'm trying to remember. I don't know if you scheduled a call. And the reason why I'm asking is just because it's the way that clinical research is going is that in whatever you're doing, you absolutely want to incorporate the remote piece automatically, right? So if you want to be a full service CRO, there are three things that I always say. The first thing is that you have to define your market, right? Who are you going to
Yeah.
target? What is the size of the company that you're going to target? And that's the first thing. Second thing is what therapeutic areas are you going to be in, right? Over the years, I cannot tell you how many CROs I've hired, trained, and just because of, and of course we have the whole, and then the other thing so one, I talked about in niche market. Let me go back into it because I could get excited and give so much information, right? So niche market, therapeutic area. And then the last thing I always say is that the kinds of services, yes, you're a full service CRO, but you want to start from someone, typically when I work with CROs, I have some that they're like data management heavy, but they're like, but Tengu, should you need a PV person? And by that, I mean a pharmacovigilance type of person or biostatistician. They might, we can provide that. Now, working for the bigger companies, I mean, I've, consulting and training people. I've worked with the massive CROs who are set, the Quintals, the Parexels of the world and all of that. They're set, they know they're fine. But then when I do project management with smaller companies, we use a lot of niche services, and I think it's fantastic. So I would bring in a CRO that's maybe only going to do the monitoring piece. And I'm going to look for monitoring heavy CRO, right? They are like the kings of monitoring. They have monitors ready to go. And then in another case, I would say, the safety piece is going to be handled by a completely different group. So what you want to look at, Nakelo, is that as a small company, when you're beginning, you want to take advantage of these very streamlined niche services. The only word you want to think about is niche, 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 right? That's all what you want to think about. What are we going to focus on? One, which companies we're going to target, niche it, bring it small, big, niche it again even further, the therapeutic areas, and then even further, start with targeted services. Pick a service that you're so good at. Like you are like the kings of it. Nobody can beat you. Like you're so good at it. That's the service maybe it's recruitment, right? I mean, I have companies that I work with, we set up recruitment and all of that. Maybe you're good at recruitment, or maybe, like I said, it's the monitoring piece, or maybe it's the data management piece, right? You want to always have that one service that it's your core service, because what will happen is that as you start, you're going to have a tendency to work with these smaller biotechs, biopharma, and things like that. And they are small, and they always go for, when I say they, I mean, I'm on the other side as well. So I know exactly what I'm talking about. So I would say I would target a small company, niche CRO that provides a specific, if they do monitoring, niche even further. And to even take a step further, some of them even now hire recruitment firms, right, that can provide maybe contract CRAs or contract staff, just a contract project manager or whatever. So my big thing is niche it. Pick an area that you're so good at, pick a therapeutic area that you're so good at, but then use that as your core strategy. And then as you're getting bigger and you're getting more work, automatically, once you do really great work, I mean, if I bring in a CRO that's going to hire our data management piece and they do so well, oh my goodness, or they're going to maybe work on the actigraphy piece. Actigraphy is just devices that are being used now to track certain things, these modern days, and they're so good. And then they say, you know what, there's another service that we offer. I have a bigger chance of going with them, but you have to brand yourself. And that when somebody looks at you and your company, Nakelu, They know exactly, like, for example, at Achaibo Clinical, we are innovating African clinical trials, right? That's what we do. We train clinical research professionals. That's what we do. I don't do anything else. Now I do, by the way. I do get other things. People ask me, there are always other new requests, but this is what we're known for. And this is what we're passionate about. Really, we're very passionate about it. I mean, B's laughing, right? Because we really are. We really love it. So that's what you want to think about. I hope that's helpful. And then schedule a call with me. I think it'll be good for us to take this offline and discuss even further.
Okay, that's helpful. Yes, I will.
Sure.
Thank you very
Sure.
much.
Okay. You're welcome. Good stuff. We need more CROs in Africa. My goodness. We need more. So next question. Anybody else? Do you have a question? No question is off the table. All things clinical research are allowed. I always have the answer. And if I do not, don't ask me a question about, what does it take to do a double mastectomy? What are the instruments that are used in surgery? I can tell you. But clinical research, operations, whether it's you are researching, you're writing a paper, all of that good stuff on how to run clinical trials, I can tell you. Okay, this is what I'm here for. Okay, so any other questions? We have a quiet lot today. I see Talbert is here, Sam, Molly, Ingrid. Anything, you guys? Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, I'll keep going. I see that you guys do not have questions. I must have done a really good presentation. I must have done a really good one. Okay, so for the next step, this is what we typically do. B has probably, you have one question in the chat box. B, can you read it for me? I am so bad sometimes when it comes to.
Question from Bramwell.
Bramwell. Okay, go ahead.
When you talk of other health workers, are laboratory technologists or scientists among them?
Absolutely. Bramwell, those are, scientists, lab technologists, all the whole gamut of clinical research professionals, clinical research assist, clinical nursing assistant, just really, and the reason why I insist on healthcare workers, particularly for the CRA program, is because there are certain things that are going to be very familiar to you, right? So that's really important. But anybody who's interested, book a call with me. And what I do is I tailor everything to meet your needs. Our goal is that I'm not going to take somebody, which is, let me back up, because believe it or not, I didn't go to school as a clinician. My background was political sciences, and I did do some work with the UN at some point, but I love this industry so much that I actually started in oncology, one of the most complicated therapeutic areas. And now I can manage global oncology projects and things. So it's a learned industry. So my point is that I want to get your foot in the door. And then because it's one of those industries where you just learn as you go, right? But what I'm doing is I'm taking all the years of experience and putting it into programs so that it doesn't have to take you that long, right? Once you get it, you get it. So yeah, absolutely. Healthcare workers, lab technicians, anybody, just book a call and let's talk. And let me see what your goals are and where you actually want to be. And then we'll take things from there. Okay, Bramwell, I hope that is helpful. That makes sense. And you can always come on as well. Oh, there he is. Bramwell, you want to unmute yourself? Do you have anything else to add? Going once? Twice? Okay, Bramwell. Okay, I hope I answered your question. Anybody else? Okay, so while we're all quiet, I was going to say that we work a little bit differently. The goal is to make sure that, you actually get what you need. It's not so much that we're like, yeah, just click on this link and go sign up and whatever. We don't work that way. If you're interested, book a call with me, and then we're going to have a discussion around what your goals are. What do you want? What are the plans? Where are you? And then I would recommend which program is best for you. And then that way we can work with you and map out where you want to be in the next few years, right? and so that you can better understand what we actually have to offer. Okay, you can book a call, or this is our email, customer service at achaiboclinical.com. If you're interested, email us there as well. But ideally, you want to book that call and schedule it, and let's talk. Okay. So, anything else? And let me see. I see some people join right at the end. And one last thing: if you join late and you didn't get everything, just type your email in the chat box, and then B is going to send you a link to a recording of this call if you're interested. So just put your email in the chat box and your name. Just say, hey, put your name, put your email address, and then we will send you the recording after the call. Okay. Fantastic. So again, I'm going to wrap it up here, but I just want to say again, in a universe without boundaries, you want to be a hero without limits, right? You want to go for the things that will bring you success. And here's the other thing. I see. Okay, good. I see that someone's actually typing their name. Okay, perfect. Taunga. Okay. It's Taunga. Okay, perfect. So Taunga, hello, do you have a question, or do you want to receive a recording of this call? Do you have a question before I keep going? You can unmute yourself. Okay. Okay, so we'll keep going. We'll wait for Tonga to respond. So if Tonga, you want the recording, please confirm, okay? So what I was saying was this: every single person on this planet, they're not tracking any people from Mars, right? So I swear, no people from Mars, there are no people coming from Jupiter, the moon. We are all on planet Earth. And so what that means is that sometimes it's an illusion that there are certain resources that are available for certain people and other people do not have the resources, right? Yes, there is disparity, there is inequality, there's all of that, but there is no unequal mind on this planet. The mind, we've all been imbued with the same mind. Now, the circumstances that we live in might be different. The challenges that we face might be different, right? I mean, it's all different, but guess what? That mind is not different. And that's the only thing that you need in your life to actually move forward, to go for your dreams and desires. It's only your mind that will take you there. And by the mind, this is what I mean by the mind, not so much an abstract concept. Ultimately, I know that we're spiritual beings. I mean, and even if you don't believe in anything, I mean, quantum physics shows that, we're just a melange of all kinds of atoms and molecules, right? Even if you don't believe in any of that. But think about the fact that, I'm supposed to be this group of atoms that are moving around on planet Earth, right? I mean, I think that's really crazy because I'm this group of atoms that are moving around on planet Earth, but I perceive myself to be an individual with hands and fingers and all that stuff. That is the one thing that unifies us. You are an abstract being, a spiritual being, whatever you want to call yourself. And your mind is the tool by which you bring forth your dreams and desires, right? You imagine, you have this mind and this passion. And so when things start coming to your mind, they get to your emotions, right? So the emotions now come as a result of what your mind is thinking. And so these are intangible things. And I keep repeating this because if you leave this call today, it doesn't matter what you decide, whether you want to be part of our platform and be inspired and transform your life in clinical trials, doesn't matter what you choose. But the one thing I want you to remember is this: you are an abstract, intangible, spiritual being. You might think you're confined by your physical body, but that's not true. You are limitless. And so you cannot afford to say, oh my goodness, I cannot do this because of that. Okay. If you want something to happen in your life and you actually want to move forward, you cannot see yourself as someone who's, again, confined in little spaces, little places. You've got to realize that that's all an illusion. It's your mind, it's your spirit, those intangible pieces of who that you that make you who you are. Your laughter, your joy, the happiness, and even the sadness, and even the fear, and all of that stuff you cannot touch, feel, see it, but it is who you are. And so you want to spend a great majority of your time focusing on the parts of yourself that you do not see, and making sure that those parts are they're coherent, they're in alignment, right? The joy, the desires, your passion, your success, and all those things that you want for yourself, you want to focus on that and start moving away from your physical self that is limited, right? That you can see, taste, touch, see, taste, touch, hear, smell, right? I mean, because it is limited, you're within a physical body, but you want to focus, like I said, on those other things that you cannot see. And those are the things really that transform your life. It's the things that you cannot see. It's the thinking about, the great things that are happening in your life that you think about it, but you can't rely. I mean, you can't really feel, see it, touch it, but it's there. Like you can imagine it, you can see it. That's what you want to focus on. Dream big, think of the intangible, right? Just keep focusing on that. And whenever something in the physical world comes along that, challenges come, things happen. Hey, I mean, that's life, right? What are we going to do? It's part of life. If you spend your time focusing on that, your life will transform. Now, the way that I do it, this is a little secret. I do a lot of meditation. Very important, because it's in the silence, it's in the unknown. Every great thing that you do comes from the unknown, that intangible part. Because in this physical world, you see it, you're seeing it, right? I mean, my goodness, I have a house, I have a car, you see it. It's already happened. That's a past. You're looking at the past, right? Because you thought about it and you had it. But to move forward, you have to focus on in the silence, the intangible, your emotions, your mind, your imagination. And those are the things that are going to move you forward quicker than what you ever think, because you're limited in the physical world. I mean, how much action can you take, right? So that's what it is. And that's really what this program is about. It's allowing you to become an amazing clinical research professional while benefiting from all these other ideas that people use to actually move forward in life. Okay, so we will be sending those recordings to you. This is the end. We went a little bit over the hour, but I'm excited all of you hung on, you stayed, you listen, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you individually. I'm looking forward to those of you who are going to be joining our platform and taking your life to the next level. Okay, I thank you so much again, and I will see you guys next week. Each week is different, so it's the same presentation, but it's always different because there's always a new idea. I coach in every single one because that's really important, right? We talk about clinical research and we also coach and also help you to feel inspired and feel like, hey, you know what? I can do this, right? I mean, I can do it too. I really can. Okay. You guys take care, okay? Enjoy the rest of the week. And I look forward to speaking with you one-on-one. Okay? Bye. I always forget to go bye.
Bye.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
And you
Bye.
are welcome. So welcome.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye, you guys.